Hello, Tom Lavecchia here with the latest edition of the New Theory podcast. Today we have a very, very special guest, a work colleague, if you will, because we work with him on our agency side as well as at Digest. And his name is Sean Grevy. He's the guru for when it comes to billboards. The reason why billboards are important, they're the best secret weapon that are right in front of your face. And you'd be surprised in this environment how inexpensive billboards are. But more importantly, Sean Grevy of 43 Oak, welcome to New Theory Podcast. How you doing today?
How you doing? Thanks for having me on. Thanks for having an Irishman on your podcast on St. Patty's Day. Happy St. Patty's Day to everybody.
That's right. We release same day, so St. Patty's Day to everybody. Just a little fact. He was Italian, just saying, hashtag just saying, but we celebrate the Irish today. And
everybody's Irish on St. Patty's.
and you know, it's interesting. So my mother, she passed unfortunately, but she was, she's from Italy, and every year she made corned beef and cabbage. She celebrated. It was she made it really good too. So shout out to my mom. So all right. So Sean, so you have an agency, and this is what I like about him, because we always talk about like diversification. We always talk about, like just hedging, all that kind of stuff, where this guy did the opposite. It worked out. His lane primarily is billboards. But first, before we get into that, Sean, give us a little bit of background about you and how did you get to this point?
Yeah. So I've been in advertising since I was 16 years old. It's pretty much all I've ever known, except for being a hockey player. And I knew hockey wasn't gonna take care of me the way that business would, at least not for long.
Yeah.
So I got into advertising when I was 16. I worked for an ad agency in Philadelphia.
Oh wow.
Grew up, born and raised in Philly proper. And I did cold calling for this company for a couple of years, and it's funny, like everybody in the cold calling room is just, complaining all day about how much they hate cold calling. And I'm sitting there like, yeah, I hate it too. But really, I actually didn't hate it. I liked it because I was cold calling about advertising, and it was a pretty cool product. So at the time, what we were selling were digital billboards in restaurants and fitness centers and hockey rinks. And it was cool. So anyway, I worked for them for 5 years. I moved to New York pretty early on. I was 20, 21. Took a job at Z100 doing celebrity brand endorsements for Elvis Duran in the Morning Show and Power 105.
Oh, wow.
A bunch of other properties. Yeah. So I worked for 9 different radio stations in my time in New York doing corporate, sales. And I decided, I'm more of a client advocate. I'm not a work for the big shop kind of guy. I don't necessarily, I come from a blue collar background, family businesses, that kind of thing. So it didn't really sit well with me, like watching the corporate rate hikes hit, local businesses. And I wanted to be a defender of my clients. I wanted to look out for my clients. I wanted to be on the complete opposite side. So I knew that the agency side was where I could do that. And, between radio, television, and billboards, I knew that was going to be my lane. I knew that I could do that effectively. I had the right connections. I had the right relationships day one. And so I took a leap of faith and I started 43 Oak, and that was close to 6 years ago.
Wow.
It was tough in the beginning. I mean, anytime you start a business and you're leaving this corporate monster, and, I took a couple clients with me, but I had to really build my book. But I feel as if, I did the right thing all the way through. I took care of the clients that I had, and, I'll run through brick walls for any client that I have. That's what I do. It's what I'm known for, I think. And I did that. So the business grew, and, it's so funny over the years though. So my agency started as like a radio agency because that was my background,
Yeah.
Radio has changed a lot. Obviously we're doing a podcast right now. So that should go to speak to exactly where the, radio has gone. And so because of that change, billboards became a real big play for us. And I had some really great connections at some big companies. And I started doing billboards for clients. And all of a sudden I realized 2 years in, I had never gotten a phone call from a client that said, hey, this isn't working, which was something that I would hear often in certain other areas. And, I was like, wow, this is beautiful. Like everybody loves their billboards. It's just getting unbelievable exposure. Everywhere I go, people are like, I've seen your billboards here, the Jersey Turnpike, 95, Philly, whatever, New York City, whatever. So I thought that was cool. And then we got into doing a lot of TV, which we've been doing a lot of TV recently. And the last, I'd say 4 years, we became a big TV shop too, and that's been great for us. But I found that billboards really are its own, thing, right? So TV and radio are great for a direct response. You want
Correct.
hits, you want the phone to ring, you want your webs, TV is going to do that job for you. Billboards are like the most incredible brand equity play that you can do. I mean, if you want your brand to be valid, if you want your brand to be distinguished, if you want people to know your name when you walk into the supermarket, put up a billboard and put it in an area that you want people to know who you are, and they
Yep.
will know you. After a few months, there is no doubt if you do the creative right, they will know who you are. Case in
Yep.
point, a couple clients behind me, Pondley Hockey, Eat Clean Bro, these are clients that are just massive dominators in the market, and a lot of it has to do with their brand equity.
So just to like unpack this a little bit, I know most of us know marketing, but there's different parts of the funnel. There's awareness where people say, "Hey, let me check something out." They're made aware of it. They didn't know of it before. They discover it. There's consideration. They're thinking about it, and they get another reminder, like, "Let's do this." Conversions when they spend the money. Loyalty is when they keep coming back. And again, if you're loyal to somebody, but maybe not as loyal as you want to be, you see something, oh shit, let me go back to order some food. And then lastly is advocacy, is when you scream from the rooftops, and that could be like influencer marketing and so forth. So the cool thing about billboards, we'll talk about that first, is it's on top of the fountain, if you will, or waterfall, but it also can work in consideration and conversion, because if you're thinking about it already and you keep seeing the iteration like you do in billboard, it makes it easier for conversion. So I want to educate people on billboards, and what I want to ask you is there's different types of inventory. So here's the other part too, really quick for everybody. So this isn't like you could pick up the phone and you can call Lamar, you can call Outreach. There's 4 roughly big players in the space. And this is one of those weird spaces where you can call a Sean Grevy and him be less expensive, not to get in trouble, but it'll be less expensive than you calling Outreach or Lamar together. Why don't you give the different types of inventories? And number 2 is, what advantage do you have without giving away too much?
Yeah, so that's easy. So again, when I started the firm, my main goal was to be a client advocate, to make sure that my clients were not getting taken advantage of.
Yeah.
Fortunately for me, really the traditional marketing space in general is very volatile, right? Month to month,
Correct.
day, week to week, whatever.
Digital is very volatile as well.
Definitely digital, everything. I mean, it's all cyclical, right? Even print, certain months are better than others. It's just the way it is. And so
correct.
It's really important to be at the forefront of that. When somebody lives that, breathes that, eats, sleeps, and breathes that, those rates, those placements, knowing where to be at what times, that's an expert. That's where it pays to have an expert in your corner. If your job is to run your business, it's not to buy billboards. It's not to do TV placement. That's not your arena. And so
Correct.
my goal is also to alleviate my clients of that stress of trying to figure that out for themselves. And then the second part of that is, I know when to strike. I know when these big companies are vulnerable. I know where the inventory is sitting that's prime, that's unsold. And I know I have that access because we do millions of dollars a year with these big shops around the country. So they're flipping deals to me all day long. My inbox is full of deals. And so I have a good amount of clients in my stable that I can flip these deals to at any moment's notice. And they know, as an agency, that I'm going to find somebody to fill the void. And not only that, my clients are going to benefit from filling that void, because they're going to spend 60, 70% less than what they would have spent on a billboard on the Jersey Turnpike or in Times Square or whatever. So I'm really giving access to rates that are really untouchable, in my opinion, if you were to try and buy yourself direct, unless you were extremely educated and, again, living this space every day. It's very difficult to know what's going on. So that's really where I feel we capitalize. And and another part of it is these companies know not to give me the bad placement. So if they're flipping me something, placement is key, right? So I could buy a billboard on the turnpike right now, but the truth is that there's a lot of billboards that are behind trees or far off on the left-hand side of the road, 1,000 feet in the air. I'm not buying those boards. I'm not interested in those.
Correct.
I'm interested in the ones that are, if it's on the left, it needs to be center so that I'm seeing it when I'm driving on into it. If it's on the right, it needs to be close to the road. I want to reach out and touch that board. That's how close I need it to be. That's placement. Guess what? That board on the right-hand side of the road costs the same as the board on the left-hand side of the road, 1,000 feet in the air, because in the same location with same impressions. But that's where I come into play. I'm making sure that I'm getting you that board on the right-hand side of the road. So that's for me, that's where we capitalize the most.
I want to also two things. The first, well, three. The first is he said impressions. So typically when you do digital buy, it's CPM or cost per thousand.
Yep.
And it could range from $250 all the way to $50 per CPM. For example, I should get more advertising on here, but it's $25 per thousand typically for on-air reads, right? So at any rate, what's interesting enough is by looking at the impressions you get from actual signage versus digital, it's actually a lot less expensive than digital. And it typically has better recall. Why don't you walk us through that a little bit, Sean?
Yeah, that's a great point. And I mean, to be fair, I do feel, and I'm not just saying this because you're in the digital space, but I actually do feel that the two work extremely well together.
Well, I'm going to get to that.
Okay, good. All right, cool. Yeah. So, but you're right. I mean, the thing is that if you were to look at at least one of the out of home buys that we do, the CPM that we're reaching, right, or so if you look at that impression base on how much we spend versus how much we're getting, it's astronomical. And again, you're right that the recall is insane because, the thing is that, so a lot of times we'll buy digital billboards, we'll buy static billboards and but I am in favor more of static boards, and that's not a secret to anybody. I think digitals are a great reinforcement to static boards, but I love the ownership of a static board, right? So if I'm in a fixed position in an area that I really want to, dominate, and I put up a really good billboard with great creative, I got to know that my consumers are going to drive past that board probably 3-4 times a week. And if I'm up for 6 months, that's a lot of hits on the same person. And that same person, well, there's hundreds of thousands, sometimes millions on certain billboards that we're reaching per board. A Jersey Turnpike billboard, you could easily reach 2 million impressions per month without a doubt. And those are real impressions. I mean, we know how many people drive on the road. It's not a secret. It's not a guessing game. The government has to know that. So we know how many people are driving past this board. They're not made up numbers. That's a real legitimate amount of people. So yeah, you're right. You do. You hit incredible amounts of impressions for the cost that you spend. And the recall it's unbelievable. I mean, you can't beat it.
And I've done business with Sean already. That's why I wanted him to come on. Our show's about the people that are real, that we do business with, not BS, not hypothetical. So with that being said, though, what I found interesting is, because we are a creative agency, X Factor Media, who owns all of our stuff, we had an idea what we wanted for a billboard is for plastic surgeon in Chicago. But what Sean said was brilliant. We kept it simple. And walk us through why simple design wins. And it's so obvious, but it's not. You get a creative team, 4 people. We sat down. We did all this stuff. We had the good-looking guy and this, the call to action, the phone number, the QR code, all this stuff. And Sean was like, whoa, I need you to slow it down a little bit. So walk us through why simple design works over maybe something a little bit more catchy.
Yeah. I'm going to give you my number one rule. I said this to you on our call.
Yeah.
Hopefully nobody ever steals this from me, but the 3 C's, clear, concise, and confident.
Love it.
Right. So if you, again, take a look at the boards behind me, eat clean, bro.
Yeah.
Conley hockey with a tagline. I mean, it's just so simple. Right. And so we don't need to overdo it. We don't need to tell our full story. You know why? Because people are going to Google us when they see our name, and then our website's going to tell that whole story. There's a whole
narrative,
whole website to tell that story. And you know what? If they're that interested, they're going to take the time to read about it and learn about it. But what we're going to do is we're just going to let them know what we do on the billboard and who we are real quick. And so that every time they pass that, there is no mistake about it. This is who we are. This is what we do. And if you're interested, look us up. And so, yeah, I mean, look, I have this conversation with every new client that comes in the door. It's not to anybody's fault. They get excited. They want to put, a million different things on the board. And the truth is that the more you crowd the board, the harder it becomes for people to understand who is the brand.
Yes.
The brand should always be number one on the board. More than the picture, more than the tagline, more than anything. The brand is the board, because anything else other than that is going to make them think the brand could be your tagline, or the brand could be, we don't want to confuse people. We want people to completely understand without a doubt that every time they pass that board, it takes them 2 seconds, not even a half a second, to go, oh, I know those guys. I know those guys. And then one day they go, let me look those guys up. Maybe I need them today. Shopping list mentality. Maybe they don't need you today. Maybe the next time they pass you, they're going to need you. So
that's right.
Yeah, in my opinion, simple wins every time on a billboard. I have a hard time understanding when people put a ton of stuff on a board, because it to me, you're creating waste.
Now the pendulum swung so far the other way, from like print mediums and so forth, all the way to digital. So a lot of my digital compatriots are probably watching or listening and saying, that's BS. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. Well, so we try to give a little bit away on these, not too much, but one of the things that I'll be working on with Sean too is you can do what is called geofencing. So, sake of argument, you're on the turnpike, you have a ton of commuters to and from New York, to and from North South Jersey. Remember, it goes for a minimum of 4 weeks, so it could be a holiday and so forth, right? So right off the bat, I see the eClean Bro, or I see the hockey team, or I see we're doing one for New Jersey Digest, which is our Jersey-based magazine. Check them out. And, you see it and you recall it, right? But then we could also, let's say, sake of argument, we want to go after Franklin Lakes, New Jersey. We can geofence ads to your cell phone under maybe houses worth a certain amount, 600,000 or up, which is pretty much everyone in that neighborhood. But nevertheless, we can geofence you, right? So as we geofence you, you see the whole, billboard up top. You get hit on your phone, and then we also do print. Well, we'll send you a print, and you open it up, and then boom, that's a recall. Because whether we like it or not, people have to see something 6 or 7 times before they have to act. And one of the keys when you start your business and you have your marketing plan, even if you hire digital marketers like us, whether you hire billboard video people like Sean, we'll get to OTT in a second. You need to have awareness first, and you can't skip over it. You might be able to do Facebook ads, be transactional, and get some sales, and great. But with that money, if you do that easily, you're still not necessarily building a brand. You're transactional, not transformational. So, okay. So billboards, I think at this point, we're all smart people for the most part. We get it. But there's also a disruptive nature of OTT video TV advertising, which we do not talk enough about. Walk us through a little bit about OTT.
Yeah, OTT is really exciting. As I said, for the last 4 or 5 years, we've been doing a ton of broadcast television, and it works. It drives phone calls. People are sitting at home, and especially when you couple it with a good print or billboard or digital campaign, it's an extra reinforcement, and it's that last step where they pick up the phone and call. What I love about OTT is over the top. It's what it stands for. It's streaming television. So your Hulu's, your AT&T TV. If you watch, like let's say you love the First 48 on A&E and you want to stream that on your, your phone or your TV, that would be OTT. The commercial that you're forced to watch for 30 seconds that you can't exit out of, that's correct. OTT. Here's why I love OTT. First of all, at the end of the month, we get a really great dashboard, analytic dashboard, which is pretty cool because it's digital. So it's a digital capability. Ultimately, it's TV, but it's a digital capability.
Correct.
And so like my partners that I work with are getting a 97% completion rate. So when we do, an OTT buy at the end of the month, we know that 96, 97, 98% of the people that saw our commercial completed that commercial. Now, to take it a step further, we can be really granular with who we're targeting on OTT. I mean, it's like digital, right? It is digital. So we know statistics on these people because they've registered their devices. I mean, we know who they are. I mean, it is what it is. We know who they are. We know what they like. We know how much money they make a year. We know where they live. We know all these things. So we're able to target those people because that is our demographic. And ultimately, that helps us put our message out even stronger to the people that are our demographic. And
Correct.
I love it for that capability. I love that, we can create ads that people can click to the website from. I mean, it's just a lot of really cool things that you can do with OTT. And what's coolest to me about it, and you can tell I get a little excited about it, is like, it's bringing our two worlds together. And I'm all for that.
Correct.
I mean,
Correct.
one of my biggest thing is I love that you brought me onto your podcast, because you being somebody that's in the digital space, a lot of times our industries seem to not work together. And I think that that's a travesty to the client. I am all for bringing digital agencies into my client's doorstep,
Yep.
because ultimately I know that digital is just as important as what I do. And without the two together, you're just hindering your campaign. You're hurting yourself. And
Correct.
so I'm all for it working together, whatever's best for the client. I mean that. I mean, again, it could sound cheesy. It's the truth.
Yeah.
Whatever's best for my client is what I'm going to do. It doesn't matter if it means less money in my pocket. It's not what it's about for me. It's about growing long-term substantial relationships. And so OTT is a combination of our two industries together. It is digital and it is traditional, and it is highly, highly effective. And it is the new wave of the future. I mean, again, look at the radio side. It's the same thing. Podcasting is the same thing as OTT. We're bringing two worlds together, and it's working. It's working. People are podcasting more than they ever have before. It's going to be the wave of the future. Eventually, you're going to see this take over radio. I think it already has started, quite frankly. There are some really effective radio platforms out there that you can still buy, but for the most part, podcasting is the future. And OTT is the same thing with television. It is the future, and it's here now. So the future is here. We're in it. And that's my take on it.
Well, it's interesting enough is between both shows, I have another show in this one, and the average time somebody listens is like 17, 18 minutes, which is, imagine having somebody's attention for 17 to 18. First of all, you pay 30 seconds and you pay thousands of dollars for a brand message for 30 seconds. Imagine having somebody's attention for 18 seconds and then along the way doing, shout outs or, on-air reads. So we talked a little bit about billboards, why they work. I like the OTT side. Talk a little bit about the present and future. I do believe in what is it called? Voice marketing, which includes podcasting. That's why we expanded a little bit to our network. We have the New Theory podcast. We have the NBA and Button Man, and then we're looking to launch one for New Jersey Digest. So stay tuned for that. And then we're also looking for other podcast partners. So if you have a podcast, shoot me an email, Tom and New Theory, type in podcast on the subject line, and let's chat, because we're looking to expand our network. But what are some of the other future things that you're looking at? Because I know you're not a guy who sits still, although you're in your lane, although you're disciplined.
Yeah.
Give us some of the future things you're looking at.
So there's a lot out there right now. There's a lot of, I call it guerrilla marketing, right? It's outside of the big three. One thing that we've been doing a lot of work with lately are wrapped Ubers.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, man. So again, you want to talk about analytics.
I got to write this down.
Write this down. We can use this for a few clients.
Can I start buying from you yet, or you're not offering this yet?
No, it's ready, man. We're doing it in every market in the country. And where it's coolest to me right now is in New York City. New York City is such an expensive billboard market. It's an expensive TV market. It's expensive radio market. It's just expensive to buy. The wrapped Uber campaign is the same cost in New York as it is in Philadelphia, as it is in Chicago, as it is in LA. So what's really cool is it's actually very cost effective. You can wrap the entire Uber. You can pick as many Ubers as you like. I just had a client buy 25 Ubers for the New York Metro. And what's cool is that we have an analytic dashboard on the Ubers. So these Uber drivers are tracked. Not only that, but they're 5-star Uber drivers. They're 5-star rated. So, when you get a 5-star Uber, these guys are really into their job. They love what they do, and it's cool. They're good conversation.
I like it.
Yeah. And so what we do is they get really into the brand. So if whatever Uber drivers we pick, they say, yes, I want to work with this brand. And then we can even arm them with material. I had a client that did a conference in San Francisco. They wanted to do umbrellas with their logo on it because it always rains in San Fran. People are getting out at the conference. You want a nice little umbrella? It's got your logo on it. Boom.
Wow, I love it.
I mean, it's cool. There's so many cool little things out there that you can take advantage of. And another thing would be, right now we're looking at down the shore. It's not new. This is not new, but it's cool.
No.
Is the airplanes over the beach.
You do that as well?
Yeah, we do billboards. There's actually a billboard boat now that drives, rides along the coastline of the North Jersey shoreline, and you can put your ad on a billboard that's on an actual boat. Stuff like that is cool. We just did for a client in Wildwood, New Jersey. We did these. If you've been to Wildwood, there's the watch out for the tram car. The tram car.
Watch out for the tram car, please.
Yeah. So there's the transit shelters for those. You could put billboards on the transit shelters, which is really cool. There's just so many different ways of consuming media, and if you really like, which is something we do all the time, just constantly looking for alternative opportunities to add on to campaigns. And again, you said it earlier. Hit your consumer 6 or 7 times before they actually react, right? Like we have a client who everybody in Jersey knows, Della Russo Laser Vision. We do their out of home buying, and so it was so funny when we started. My client will love this if she watches, but like we had this whole thing with the call center where I'm like, listen, you got to let me sit with your call center for a day, because I know that they got to ask the right questions, because when people call in and you ask them, how'd you hear about us? Of course, everybody's going to say the radio, because Della Russo was famous on the radio for the last 20 years. They've done every
Right.
DJ known to man.
Correct.
And so, Della Russo from the radio, but the truth is they have 10 billboards on the Jersey Turnpike and people are seeing them everywhere. So even if they see the billboard, you ask them where they heard about you, they're going to say the radio, or they're going to say Google because they Google.
Well, so I'm not gonna, because I am not giving that much away. But if you want Tom a New Theory, put in the subject line attribution. I will not go through it now, but if you're a client, you sign on. There's ways. This is where Sean and I are dangerous, but in a good way. We can show better ways to capture attribution. Obviously, if it's a reminder campaign or an awareness campaign, like an E-Clean Bro. Shout out to Jamie, by the way.
Yeah.
He was a great guest on the show. Make sure you check out his Jamie Giovinazzo. And he was on a good hour and a half. We just talked to Jersey guys and talked about everything. And it's actually one of our better performing podcasts. But with that being said, you could put different URLs in, different numbers. There's a whole bunch of stuff you can do. Obviously, Della Russo has her attribution center. They know what they're doing. But that's one thing that's frustrating too, being this side of the fence is, how do I say this? So attribution is not always there. And people may be like, oh my God, I Googled it. Well, why'd you Google? Because you saw it on the billboard or I heard on the radio. Well, you might've heard it once, but you saw it 10 times. Yeah. Just a funny, quick story. We were doing some advertising on a gay men's network. Not going to be shy. We were advertising on Grindr. It was in the men's space, and it made sense. And there was a dynamic phone number and a dynamic URL that only appeared in this one space on the app. Okay. I'm not knocking anybody. I'm just saying, like, it just appeared in one space, and people would go into this particular, practice and in this business. And, you would ask, hey, where did you hear about us? And most guys were like, oh, YouTube or Google or whatever. And it only appeared in one place. And I'm not knocking anybody. I'm just telling you the fact. That's the good thing about marketing. Marketing is black and white, binary. So in this particular case, we called up Grindr at the time and we said, hey, wait a second. Half the guys that are coming in through this attribution are saying they heard it from other sources. They're lying to us. What's going on? And he goes, well, 40% of guys on the app aren't out. So it's just an interesting dynamic where.
Interesting.
Yeah. And so the truth is, people do, when you ask them, how did you hear about us? As a marketer, that makes me cringe. It makes me scared. Mm-hmm. It's the worst question you could ask because, one, they may be lying. Number two, well, Sean's a young guy, but I remember when I was going to Limelight when I was 16 years old. Hey, how did whose list are you on? Oh, I'm on Ducky's list or the house list, or I just make shit up or things that I heard. Because once you're on a list, you think have a better chance of getting a discount, a referral, that kind of stuff. Versus you say, wow, I found you from Google or I found you from whatever. And then finding from Google is even worse because there's so many subsets of that. So attribution is key. Sean, you've been great. How can we find you?
You can find us on Instagram for sure. 43 Oak Advertising. There's a underscore in between each word.
I'll put the Instagram link below.
And then our website, of course, 43oak.com. And check out our foundation as well. We're doing a lot of work in the hockey space. We have a program that helps underprivileged minorities play the sport of ice hockey. Been at that for a long time, and I appreciate anybody that wants to take an interest. We love working with our clients, and every one of them is like a best friend to us. You just mentioned Jamie. He's one example of many, but just we love what we do. So we try to make advertising fun. Working with guys like Tom, we can really accomplish a lot in mixing media together. So it's exciting, very exciting.
And Sean did not approve this, but if you say New Theory sent you, he'll throw you a discount.
Done.
No, but mention New Theory so he knows the attribution, because that's something you can't make up.
Please.
And the nice thing too, I worked with again Sean, and I'm not BSing. When he gives you his rates, those are his rates. There's no reason to call anybody, no reason to check, because I kind of did on some occasions, or know the business pretty well, and like some stuff is 70% off, and it's prime stuff. So you'll be shocked at the pricing level on that. So Sean, welcome. Thank you again for being on the New Theory podcast. We'll put your link below, and enjoy your St. Patty's Day, brother.
All right, thanks so much. Happy St. Pat's. Talk soon.
Ciao.
See ya.